Welcome back to Hoops Lounge for the show with less dents than Russell Westbrook's face. My name is Marc Griffin, aka Montreal Mark. I'm joined by my partner in crime, Phil Boileau of Sporting Phil, and special guest Will Strickland of TSN 1050 Radio in Toronto. We're talking the MVP race and dents all over the place. Will, what is your definition of an NBA MVP?
Well, first off, no chill with the Russell Westbrook dent face. Wow. I think, the term has a lot of meaning to different people, to a lot of different people. I think for me, the criteria is, like, how does that team play when you're not in the lineup? We already know what you contribute. That's why you're in the conversation in the first place. Points, rebounds, like how you affect the game in a multitude of ways. But if the team continues to win when you're gone, you can't be an MVP candidate, in my opinion. So, if, for instance, LeBron James, if the Cleveland Cavaliers had played or won on a pace that was consistent with when he was in the lineup, he's not an MVP candidate. If Derrick Rose, whose team is winning and scoring and defending, basically on the same level with or without him, he's not an MVP candidate. So, I look at those things and weigh those against the other players who are in the conversation. And I don't want to step on toes or whatever. If you want to name the guys who you think are in the conversation, let me know. But right now, who I see is, of course, the very obvious right now, starting the season, Steph Curry. James Harden really came on once the Dwight Howard injury came about. February was an incredible month for Russell Westbrook. And, of course, after LeBron James took his 2-week hiatus after his birthday, he came back stronger, faster, better. And, of course, David Griffin, let's make sure to note that GM David Griffin made the kind of moves that were necessary to enhance LeBron's experience in Cleveland because he has an opt-out clause at the end of this year. So to bring in Timothy Mozgov, J.R. Smith, and my man Iman Shumpert, to show up what they do on the perimeter and have a big rim-protecting guy in the middle who can rebound. He's not a stiff. He can shoot 15 to 18 feet. He can score when you throw the ball down to him in low. They got some good parts to go along with Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving. So, those four guys are in my conversation right now.
Phil, who do you got in your list?
Well, honestly, I think great basketball minds think alike. I had those four, but in my look, exactly to take your point and use it against some of these guys, to me, that's why I hear Steph Curry. But I also see Klay Thompson having a great year. I also see Draymond Green having a great year. And to me, your teammates, like with LeBron James, hurt you a bit. That's why, for me, as an individual, I think it's Harden, Russell Westbrook. Right now, I'm going to have to give it to Westbrook just because I think he makes other guys a little bit better. I think James Harden's put a lot on his shoulders, but we've seen with Kevin Durant out, the assist numbers, the triple-doubles. I mean, Russell Westbrook, in my mind, since he's gone out, has been the best player in the NBA. And so to me...
In February, are you saying just in February? Because, in some of those triple-double games, they lost those games, too.
No,
so
they didn't. The thing is,
if you inflate your stats all day.
No, for sure. But if you look at who he's got around him, like, I like the crew a bit better in Houston than in OKC without Durant, So I agree with what you're saying, but to me, look, it's a toss-up because it's hard to say against any of these guys. But I just think when you look at Russell Westbrook, he's got that kind of heart of a young Kobe, and he's got all that talent. I don't know. I just think that he's going to be that guy, and he was the one. That was the one situation where they went from out of the playoffs to in the playoffs.
Right.
So
you may be the only person. You may be the only person on the planet who says that Russell Westbrook makes his teammates better, because for years his reputation has been a guy who takes away from his teammates, which is, to me, it's a misnomer. He's an excellent ball player, and he has to play the way he plays. He has a certain kind of soul to how he plays, and you can't stop that. He is who people thought Derrick Rose would be at this point. Back in 2010, I was on another talk show on television here in Toronto, and we were talking about the NBA Finals, and I said in 2010 that by 2013 that the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Chicago Bulls with Derrick Rose and Russell Westbrook at the point should play in the finals for the next 3 to 4 years because of how they look as young players, because of the point guard situation there, that these guys had dynamic games, and they were point guards like we had never seen in the NBA. Like with the bounce they have, the energy they had, like they were the greatest athletes I've ever seen at the point. And to see how injury had affected both of their games. For Russell, it hasn't affected him at all. He actually plays harder now than he played before the injuries, and Derrick Rose was playing more cautiously. So, you know, you never know how things can go in the NBA, but Russell Westbrook has had a fantastic February, no doubt, and he's injected himself in that conversation as the MVP, but I just don't think he's done enough from a body of work standpoint over the course of the season to say he's the MVP of the league. But again, as we say on the show every week, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. If you finish strong enough,
I'm going to throw
strong enough, like Kevin Durant last year, the 40-point games, the streak. He finished strong in the season. He won the MVP. So Russell Westbrook has a legitimate shot at being the most valuable player of the National Basketball Association.
Okay, so I'm going to throw 2 more names out there. I know those 4 names are kind of the standard what the mainstream media has been talking about. Mainly, Anthony Davis, obviously he's been injured for the last couple weeks or so, but his numbers have been ridiculous this season. His PER, if you're a stats geek, is off the charts right now. If he gets back, if he wills them to the playoffs, he's got to be considered. And there's this last name, I got to throw this out here because I don't know why no one's talking about him. He's having the best game of his career, and essentially he's the leader on offense and defense of the second best team in basketball. Marc Gasol is having a career right now, but he's not a sexy Marc. He doesn't have a sexy brand of basketball, so no one's talking about him. So if his team could end up having the best record at the end of the season, like you said, so he's got to be out there for consideration. Also, Will, I got to speak to what you said about Derrick Rose and Westbrook. They have not faced each other since 2010. I mean, this is a very unique dilemma. The last time we had a heated NBA race like this was 1990 when Magic Johnson won. You know, there's just so much talent right now. If you were to pick your winner, I know Phil's throwing Westbrook out there. Will, who's your guy if the season ends right now?
If the season ended right now, man, that would be so tough. And it's not to exclude Westbrook because his team is still not I guess they're a playoff team now. They're 8th place in the West, and the West is very tough. It would have to be Harden. I mean, I chose him at midseason on our award show on TSN, and I said that the way that they're playing without Dwight Howard and that he's carried this team and become actually a better player reminds me of what he said during the World Cup, that he was the greatest player on the planet. And we laughed at him. And he's coming out and proving that. And the game that they played against the Cavs this past Sunday was something to behold. Because
King James, right?
No, I don't know about all that, but you know, he definitely competed, and this team won the game. I mean, LeBron makes those free throws. I'm probably not having that conversation, but it doesn't take away from what James Harden did in that game. And right now, James Harden, I believe, based on you don't lose a guy like Dwight Howard and still stay competitive in the West as they have, without having someone like James Edward Harden Jr. to be the catalyst for everything good in Houston right now. LeBron James, of course, is still in that conversation. He's always in that conversation. We're spoiled by the fact that here's a guy who goes out and gets 26, 6, and 7, and somehow he's not really in someone's conversation
He's been doing it so long, right? Like it's almost like taken for granted, right?
Right, we do. And Marc Gasol, you made a great point about Marc Gasol. He ends up being the Bill Walton MVP, where he's a guy who didn't lead the league in any real categories, but he led his team to the championship. And I think that if Marc Gasol somehow wills the Grizzlies to the best record in the NBA at the end of the season, he has to be in that conversation, even though it won't be a sexy pick.
No, for sure.
Did I actually answer your question, Mark?
Yeah, you did.
Keep going around.
Yeah, you did.
I think James Harden right now, and it's tough for me to say anything else but James Harden.
Phil, I'll throw this to you. Do you think that in terms of popularity, something like, Steph Curry versus, say, Harden, with the groin kick this week in national television, you think that works against him, his kind of villainous role in the NBA, that works against him towards being MVP?
I'm going to say no. First of all, I'm going to kick that off with saying if you had to call it right now, I would actually agree with Will and say Harden. I've been saying Harden the whole year, but I think Westbrook is coming on, and I think end game it's going to be Harden, so just quantify that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it actually, because there's still this weird group of people who are not big LeBron fans, and I think someone taking over that role or someone kind of standing up to him at a certain level is going to win some hearts there. He already has a big following, Fear the Beard and all the rest, and as Will said, championing that team without Dwight Howard, he's been, like, arguably offensively one of the best players in the league. I mean, his defensive stats have come up. I mean, he's still not elite or anything, but I personally think Steph Curry is, he's doing what he's doing, but outside of, some insurance commercials is really not winning a lot of hearts, whereas James Harden, I feel, is doing more social media-wise, doing more off-court, and I feel that he's the more popular guy right now. I think, but I think basketball fans love just the sheer talent and the ability to drain from 40 from Steph Curry, but and it's not to overshadow his passing ability or anything, but I think James Harden just has that cool appeal this year, whereas guys in the past perhaps didn't.
I'm gonna slightly disagree with you, Phil, only in that Steph Curry has the hearts of young kids and people who admire his skills all around the world. Here's a guy who does not look like he should be on the NBA court, and he's thriving in the NBA and making guys look silly out there. Like he's playing horse in NBA games sometimes. He really is. I mean, this guy's showing skills and doing stuff that you would only think about doing in practice. And you have to admire his gumption for doing it and also being able to back it up with scoring or making the right pass, whatever the case might be. And when you do those kind of high-risk, high-yield type of things in a game and you're still one of the top teams, as a matter of fact, the top team in the NBA record-wise, it bodes well for someone like Steph Curry. I mean, I've never seen a guy with that kind of disco in his handle to be able to pull up and shoot from distances and create passes off the bounce like he has. Never, ever, ever. And I've been watching professional basketball since, for a long, long time. I will say that. But I've never seen a guy who's quite like Steph Curry at that position either. So we're talking about like Russell Westbrook, Derrick Rose, all these neat kind of point guards. Here's a guy who combines a lot of that, but just a different – he's more old school in the sense that he handles the ball, but he's more new school because you have a shooting point guard. And it's just – I don't think you can discount what he does or say it's not sexy because little kids love Steph Curry. And, when he's chefing in the pot, it's a whole other thing.
But the thing is, everything you're talking about there is on the court stuff, right? What I'm talking about is a little more off the court to add to that kind of cool appeal MVP feel. And I feel that, I agree with everything you just said, absolutely. I'm just saying James Harden, I think, has been discounted a bit in that. Like, his handle this year has been disgusting. His ability to, he's had to basically be the point guard with Patrick Beverley being there. I don't know, like this is a conversation between two amazing players. I just feel that because the question was predicated upon the kick to LeBron James, and I think that just speaks to the off court. On the court, I think his ability to do what everything you just said does win, does champion a lot of hearts, but I don't know.
Will those hearts who love James Harden harken back to the 2012 NBA Finals where he disappeared, or how they've never won a playoff series with James Harden, including being ethered by the Portland Trailblazers last year and Damian Lillard. So he has a lot to prove too. But as far as the regular season, right now, James Harden is the MVP of the National Basketball Association.
Myself, I was really torn on the issue. I got to mention this too. Since 1980, every player who's won MVP except for one had a team record of 6-10 or better, so that OKC is not going to be in the mix there probably. Got to keep in mind that Kevin Durant's going to be back soon too, so Westbrook's stats are going to drop off. And for me, LeBron playing in the East is a factor, less competition than the guys in the West. So for me, it's really a two-horse race between Harden and Steph. And I was really torn on who to pick. But I was watching a game in Boston this week, and it really hit me. I saw both these guys play in Spain and how they were received there and here in the States and in Canada. And after this game, one of these guys was giving a post-game interview, and I thought fans around the Boston Garden with jerseys, signs, and trying to get autographs and whatnot. And it just really hit me that Steph Curry has this je ne sais quoi, this kind of star power that is just kind of blossoming right now. We saw it All-Star Weekend. I know Westbrook won MVP, but it felt like Steph was the star of the weekend. Like you said, he's got an uncanny ability that I have not seen since Pete Maravich, just to be a wizard on the court. And I just think he's the feel-good story this year. I think it's kind of like a Steve Nash scenario where, yeah, maybe Shaq deserved those MVPs, but Steve was doing something really special, and I think Steph is going to be rewarded for doing that this year. But I just love that this is like the tightest race I've seen since my childhood. So it's going to be really something to see, and it's amazing that there's 4, 5, 6 guys out there who warrant this. So as Will, you say on your show, it's not how you start, how you finish. I want you to plug the show that I try to watch every Saturday. Tell us about One-on-One.
Well, One-on-One with Will Duane is on every Saturday afternoon at 3 p.m. on TSN 1050 Radio, on the World Wide Web at tsn.ca, and you can get the news, views, and truths that you choose on the NBA and beyond. One-on-One with Will Duane, only on TSN 1050.
Thank you, Will. And Phil, I will throw it back to you to wrap up.
All right, perfect. Well, again, a big thanks to Will Strickland from TSN Radio for joining us for another heated debate here in the lounge. I want to catch you guys all next time. Please remember to like, share, and comment so we can get this info out there. And if you want to continue the conversation, grab any of our Twitter handles in the description below. For myself and Mark and the rest of the Hoops Lounge team, I want to thank you for keeping it in the lounge.